to us and present to us the changes that are in line for our new 5th district. I'm pleased and honored to present someone that we all care about, that we all love, respect, and support. The Chief of the District of Columbia Metropolitan Police Department, the lady who shapes all magazine covers better than a broom.
Can we just get along?
And who will defend her officers and employees in front of all ghosts and gremlins. The Honorable Chief Lanier.
I'm gonna let Andy do the first presentation because he's got a very important presentation that means so much to all of us when we recognize the hard work of our officers. You know, in today's times, we see so many officers being assaulted and killed in the line of duty. And when you see heroic things, if any of you saw the presentation we did yesterday, 2 of our officers that were viciously attacked in Chinatown. And if it weren't for a businessman who saw an officer down, almost unconscious, being beaten while the suspect was trying to take his gun, this little businessman came over to the officer's aid and saved her life. So it's so important to us every day to recognize all the great police work that's done. And before I let Andy talk about one of those officers that does great work every day, I will say your commander today chased down a suspect himself and caught him. I understand the suspect had shorter legs. But you know, I've seen Andy do that before. He's done it for years. He never changes. I worked with him in 60. He's worked over in 2D, and he's known for kind of being the one that usually catches the bad guy. So he won't get any, you know, big praise and recognition tonight like the officers will get, but I think it's worthy to let you know what a great police commander you have. So.
Okay, thanks. I didn't chase anybody down. I'm way too old for that. What I want to do every month, what we do here at the 5th District is we take all the letters of commendation that we get from the community. We take all the awards recommendations that are written by the supervisors here. We pile them together in a pile, and then we bring in 3 master patrol officers, and once a month they go through all the different reports that and commendations and letters that we've gotten, and we choose an officer of the month. This is Tom Kriminek. He works in PSA 501. I'll let him tell you in a minute what he does. But essentially, he's our traffic guy, and he does a lot of stuff along North Capitol Street. And he and another officer who's not here tonight, Robert Chester, got Officer of the Month for May, based on a bunch of different stuff, but primarily one case where they tracked down a guy going 71 miles up North Capitol Street, pulled him over, and really you could just write the guy a ticket and let him go. What they did was go a little bit beyond that and talked to him a little bit and found out that there was some contraband in the glove box. So Tom,
how you doing? I'm Officer Thomas Kriminek. I've been here since 2005 now. For the last 3 years, I've been in the traffic unit in 501, mostly dealing with anything with traffic, pretty much. In reference to what the commander was talking about, we found a gun in his glove box that day, but I mean, not much else to say.
You got another gun off the street.
Yeah. Well, it really is important because, I mean, he's out there and he's one of the hard-working guys in the short period of time that I've been at the 5th District. He really has shown himself on the evening shift to do a lot of different stuff, be very aggressive, and take control of the situation. And like the chief says, it's not just another thing, it really is a gun off the street. So all hats off to Tom Kriminek.
Until we analyze that gun and find out what it may be connected to, we don't know what else that gun might have been involved in. So it's not just another gun. It's a good thing for the city. So thank you. Congratulations. All right. So real quick, just so you know who's here. Assistant Chief Diane Grooms in the back of the room. She's my double. She signs autographs. She does magazine covers. Assistant Chief Alfred Durham. He's my executive director. You're on the 40 side, right? Yeah, he's not. He's on the 40 side. Assistant Chief Rodney Parks in charge of Human Services. James Crane, who most of you know, I think spent some time at 5B here and there along the way. Most importantly, Mr. John Faust, the unsung hero of this presentation, who works in my office, who's done months and months of research, who puts together all the things that are important for me to do the things that we're going to talk about tonight. Civilian employee, they never get any recognition, so thank you, John, for all your hard work. I want to say, Kim Missouri's here also from 4D, and I asked Kim to be here because obviously there's some issues along the boundaries, and I ask in every district where there's going to be a shift of district boundaries that both commanders be here to answer any questions, because we get representatives from all the communities. I'm going to go through this, and I'm going to take questions at the end. I'll present the district boundaries. I'm going to let Andy talk about the PSA boundaries, and then we'll take any questions that you have. I'll say this up front tonight. I've been saying it at the end of the presentation, but I want to say it in the beginning. We are still probably 5 months away from making any changes. This is a very complicated, lengthy process. It takes a lot of time. We started in January, just getting to where we are today, and there's still a ton more work to be done. We would like to get your input. Most importantly, we'd like to get your input on the PSAs. The PSAs are a lot easier for us to tweak as we go along, because the PSAs really, when we look at the new district boundaries that we proposed, they balance the workload out across the 7 districts, and the proposal on the PSAs is a lot easier to kind of move around if we need to make some small changes there, here and there. So let me just go right into the presentation. So, you know, prior to 2007, we were policing like every other major city in the country. We were policing on that old CompStat policing model that started in New York. What was CompStat was based on was computer-generated statistics. We'd come in each morning, the command staff would meet, we'd have a big map on the wall, and it would show little dots where all the crime in the city were, and then us brilliant command staff would move the police officers around and put them on the dots, and come back the next day, and the dots had moved. We thought we were very successful because we kept the dots moving. But we started in 2007, kind of the next generation of policing, which is more of a predictive policing model. And the idea is to stop the dots from showing up to start with. Not just move them around, because there's still the same number of dots. But actually, a lot of the crime is predictable. When I worked in 4D as an officer, lieutenant, and a commander, I can tell you, you can set your watch by the robberies of Tacoma Metro Station and daylight savings time. As soon as it started getting dark, at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the afternoon, the time when most of the pedestrian community up there got off work and walked home to their house from the metro, the robberies would begin. Every year, we knew it was coming. So it was very important to me when I was up there to make sure we deployed our resources ahead of time so that the people that came to do the robberies didn't get set up and established and commit those robberies to begin with. So crime is very much like that in a lot of ways. So the predictive model that have been using since 2007, has been very effective. We can't predict all crime, but a lot of it is predictable. And the things that drive crime and what types of crime show up in what places and what time are what I'm going to talk to you about today. So what happens when we see different things that impact crime and calls for service is that what you judge us on most importantly is when you dial 911, you want a quick response from the police, right? If I dial 911 and I need help, I want the police there quick. Well, for the past 4 years, we've been driving those response times down. Our response time to priority ones is around 5 minutes, which is excellent. It's been that way for about 1.5 years now. Very good response times. And then one of the measures that we look at on these response times is when the workload starts to get a little unbalanced, those response times start to creep up. So one of the things that we started doing, I think this was Diane's idea actually, back in 2007, because we would get complaints from the community about wait times on calls, we started getting a page in our Blackberries every hour, the whole command staff, every hour we get an update on how many calls for service are pending in each district. And that will tell me, and for the past 4 years, really, every district was 1, 0, maybe 2. So you could see that nobody had a 911 call just sitting in queue waiting to be dispatched. That's what we want. You never want to see more than 1, maybe 2 calls sitting and pending. So it's been that way, and we monitored it out, and things were going really well. What we're starting to see in areas of the city where the workload has increased significantly is response times in the past 6 to 12 months that have gone up, in some cases, to double digits. double-digit number of calls in one district that are pending, waiting for somebody to dispatch that call to an available officer. That's not acceptable. You know, we've come a long way in establishing good relationships with our community, providing excellent service to our community, and being responsive. You know, people in these meetings typically say, you know, MPD is the most responsive agency. You know, we're available 24 hours a day on your listserv. You've got police officials you can call on a watch commander phone if you need them. And we want to make sure that that service you're used to is what you keep getting. And what's happening now is we're seeing an adverse effect on response times. We have, in 3 of the districts in particular, you know, our infrastructure can only accommodate so much. In 1D, 3D, and 6D, the volume of calls and the number of officers assigned to those districts now to fight those increasing crime and calls makes it difficult for an officer to get on the air. So if you're not a police officer, it's kind of difficult to understand, but if you need backup and you're trying to key the mic and say, help, I need backup, and you can't get on the air because there's too much talk going on because there's a lot of other calls going on, that's not a good thing. We don't want that. We want to keep that balance where officers can call for help and get on that air. You might only get one chance to push that button and say, I need help. Availability of police resources, you know, it's almost to a point where we don't really need police stations anymore. They're primarily so we have locker rooms for our officers to keep their gear, a parking lot where we can have the officers switch out cruisers at the shift change, to have community meetings.